discuss and then. Right. So we learn about our heart. So your daughter still come here every Tuesday?
Yeah, she's been coming.
You brought her here, or your mom, grandmom, your mom? Right?
My mom brings her here, and then I pick her up.
I see. That's so you say if the when will they close the bridge?
Supposedly tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Which bridge are they
the
closing?
Sherman Minton.
And you guys live in New Orleans?
Yeah, we live like right there, right at
Oh,
the
really?
bottom of the bridge. Yeah.
Where's that? Is this right in New Albany?
Yeah.
So your mom could not know how to get to the second street bridge.
No, she's very she has very specific places she goes, and that's it.
She can use GPS now, right?
I don't know that she does have. Willow might be able to, but she gets very anxious when she has to drive someplace she doesn't know and stuff like that. So, like when Willow started coming here, I had to drive her over here to show her how to get here and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so let's start then. Again, we learn about our heart.
The mastery of you say the arhat feels only one kind of feeling, physical feeling, but not mental feeling. How can this be so? The arhat keeps going by means of his body. He has then no power over his body. Even a bird is the ruler over the nest in which he dwells. O king, there are 10 conditions inherent in the body.
Yeah, share the screen with them. Yeah, hi An. Can you hear us, An?
Dạ thầy, con nghe thầy.
Yeah,
yes, I hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
O king, there are 10 conditions inherent in the body over which the arhat has no control. Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, excrement, urine, old age, disease, and death. Just as all beings living on the great earth depend on it, but have no control over it. So the arhat depends on his body, but has no control. So yeah, I mean, that's the first noble truth is we come here to suffer, and part of that is old age and sickness and dying. So that's part of it, but mentally, you don't have to have the mental fluctuations because they're not identified with the body, even though it may be the vehicle, they're not identified.
I just came from the place where I pray for an old man.
The funeral home.
Yeah, he died last few days. Yeah, old age. That's why I flew back. Otherwise, I will stay in Houston. Yeah. I'm going to do the funeral service for him on this Sunday too.
My aunt in Indonesia just passed away.
What's that?
But my aunt that lived in Indonesia.
Oh.
My dad's sister passed away. She was 89. 89. So I call that finishing the race. You know, had a very glorious life. So, you know.
One day you have to go.
What else do you expect?
So your parents in the 70s or what?
My parents are in their late 60s.
Late 60s?
Years or two.
My dad's 70, my mom's 69.
And then your parents in the midst of 80, right? And then?
Yes, my parents just turned 80 this year.
They sincere devotees in Houston Temple. Yeah. Again, We have no control of our body, but we can control our mind. That's the big difference. Hi, yes. Oh, okay. Please, welcome back. Why?
Why I'm not gonna say no. Does the ordinary man feel both bodily and spiritual feel? Because of the untrained state of his mind, like a hungry ox tied up by a weak grass rope would easily break free. So an ordinary man's mind becomes agitated by pain, so he feels mental pain too. However, the Arhan's mind is well trained. So when his body is affected by pain, he fixes his mind firmly on the idea of impermanence. His mind is not agitated and he feels no mental pain, just as the trunk of a great tree is unmoved by the wind, although its branches may sway. That's basically kind of what we were just talking about. The attachment to the feeling is what causes the problem in most people. But the Arhan doesn't have that. It's just like a body not working.
Yeah, sensation, tightness, yeah, no opinions about tightness, tightness exists.
We don't. Even that's big difference between the mature and immature people, right? For the children, when they get bored, they cry. They can control themselves, right? They express their feeling right away.
Yeah.
For mature, no, when you fall, it's painful, but it's enough. So the mom can have mature mind. They can control the mind over the body. I mean, they control the emotion in mind. So whichever happens to the body, they can handle. Even they have to go through the sickness, aging, and death too.
Heinous crimes. If a layman had committed a heinous crime before he entered the order, but was unaware of it, would he be able to attain the path of a streamliner? No, he would not, because the basis for understanding the Dharma has been destroyed in him. But you say that to him who is aware of an offense, there comes remorse, which causes an obstruction in the mind, so he cannot comprehend the truth. Yet in him who is unaware of his offense, there is no remorse, and he remains peaceful.
Okay, here in Buddhist view, the most serious crimes that here kill mother, father, arhat, draw blood from Buddha. That is the main one. Another one is to destroy the harmonies of the sangha, the Buddhist communities. So that is the most serious one, especially to kill modern fathers. So you understand this one? You understand this? You get them? So basically,
So if he knew of his offense and felt bad about it and had remorse, then he can't comprehend.
Yeah.
But if he didn't know and there's no remorse, oh, so it's ignorance is bliss.
So we may not aware of that. That's what he's talking about. So again, there's a story that a king, the famous king, he killed his father so that he could ascend to the throne. But later on, he followed the Buddha teaching and become one of the Buddha sincere devotees. So the Buddha said that if he didn't kill his father, he would enter the stream. He would be stream enter stream winner. That means work on the holy path. But because he killed his father, that's why this way. Why is that? Why is that? In spiritual way, in the mental way, why is that? If we commit, especially in Buddhist view, right? Kill our parents, so may obstruct our path, our spiritual path.
You would have to pay the karma for it.
definitely he would pray, but what happened? Why got obstructed? So he could not focus more.
I mean, that's just,
Why?
isn't that just kind of the rule of karma? Like you, even if you progress so far, but karma still has to come to fruition on its own, right?
Mhm.
That's why that was a Mogulin
Mhm.
was murdered, right?
Mhm. Yeah, because his past karma,
Right.
in past life, not this lifetime, you have to pay for that karma. Yeah. I put that cat. You see, you want to give to her?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has a special gift for you.
The
cat.
from the big
Yeah,
tribe.
yeah. The friend there. Yeah, he brought here, and we for us to pray, because you love cat. Oh yeah. Really? Mm. Mm. Anyway, again, uh, it's not easy when we dress, especially the Q and karma. It's not easy. It may obstruct our meditation. It may linger in our mind. Uh, so I don't know whether I told you the story that one of my Dhamma brothers, been the one that follow same lineage of mine. He was governor in Vietnam before Vietnam War.
So I was
Yeah.
admiring that the other day.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh.
Mm. It's cute.
It's cute, and it looks like a
Yeah.
Siamese cat. My cat was a Siamese cat.
So
How old is your
when
cat?
this
He
man,
was like 15.
Wow.
He had a lot of health problems. He was my baby. He's
uh,
my favorite child.
I understand.
that's the only one you have, or you have another one?
Just the one cat. I have a dog, but
That's,
he was my only cat.
and you don't get any more.
I'm not ready for it. I got some fish.
Mhm. Yeah.
I went down that road and ended up with 7 fish tanks, and then all of a sudden I was importing stuff from all over the world to put in them, spending so much, like,
Mhm.
an obsession. I don't do that anymore. I can't afford that.
So go back. So I just told you the story. So he was governor in Vietnam before Vietnam, during the Vietnam War. So he came here and later on became a monk. But somehow it's so probably he was haunted by whether the ghost or whether from his imagination. So whenever he saw a spider in his room, he'd say that the VC, the Vietnamese communists trapped him. So that's haunt him. Yeah, and when someone walks past by his one passed by his room, and is it activate the sensor light, and so he said that someone want to assassinate him.
No.
So that's why somehow this type of mentality is obstruct our views. It's not easy. This is influence in our mind that somehow even we read, but somehow it's still there. But of course in Buddhist view, if we harm someone else, that if we take their life, they may come to harm us. And then when yeah, that's why it's better to stay away from this type. Yeah, Anand, you follow our discussion, Anand?
Yes, I hear the conversation. Yeah, I could not hear the reading, the passage of the reading, but I hear the conversation now.
Yeah. So what do you think if some, let's say, soldier, right? They went to the battlefield and they shoot down many people. So those wars may come back to haunt him, or most of the time it's just his imagination. What do you think? Especially, many vets, right? They have the PTSD problem, right? Yeah. So what do you think, Anand?
That's a hard one for me to answer. I know from sutra and karma, uh, what you sow, what you reap, and especially in the Vietnam War, maybe our whole country historically, think about historically, our whole entire country for 4,000 years of history, we don't have a lot of peace. We always have someone invade our country. And from a political perspective, we always in constant fighting with each other, with neighbors, with foreign invaders, and so on and so forth. So it's difficult for me to see because I grew up into it and I'm like a byproduct of it. So I see the pain people go through and the outcome that people suffer because of war. And either if you are involved with it or you're part of it, or because you live in that society and you're part of the products. But if you sit back and reflect on it, I think maybe we as a country, as an entire, Vietnamese people, maybe our race are, and with bad karma, we may have done a lot of bad things in general. That's why we always fight and argue, and therefore we reborn in this region where there's a lot of conflict. And it's so difficult for me to reflect on it, but I just look from a positive perspective and say, as I learn more about Buddhism, hey, the more conflict, the more you create, the more problem it will happen and will come back to haunt us, whether not this life or in the future. The hatred, yes, there's if you talk to Vietnamese vets, and even in the U.S. vet, I bet there are a lot of people who have PTSD. Even my father, there's a strong hatred to the Viet Cong, which is the VC, or the communists. And because of the acts, the things they do, from a social perspective, they did a lot of bad things to people. So psychologically, it scarred a lot of people lives. It was difficult for them to forget, just like the Holocaust. Why would Nazi go kill a lot of people for no reason, as an example? So those people who survived those era, they would be always have the memory and the hatred against those type of individual or concept of people who follow that kind of mentality. So but that if you drag into it, if you don't let go, you will always be suffer. But that if you let go, that's when you don't remember the history. You teach the children, the next generation, not to do the bad things. So I have a hard time reconcile that as myself. But to be a Buddhist, to let go is a good thing. Long term or short term, letting go will make you feel better, more at peace, even though it's very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, again, when we invoke with this kind of fighting, killing, and so forth, the karma, revolt, not least this lifetime to the next. And that's why when we sit down to calm our mind, it's not easy to those image, those fighting, those conflicts. We're not talking about killing our parents or harming the one that love us the most. So that's why, in this sense, in Naga Sena deal, it's not easy for them to attain the ownership. Can you do this?
I'll read it in a moment, but I was going to add that I don't want to repeat the whole story because I think most people have already heard it, but I appreciate that my dad told me to not join the military because he was in the war, and I feel like, he stopped the cycle of karma by telling me not to do that because my dad was in the Vietnam War and his dad was in World War II, and my family has had people in the military forced to not be in the military because he told me not to join because of his experience. So if he hadn't told me that, maybe I would have gone to like Iraq or something, but I didn't because of his advice. So,
what happens if you serve in the back, like the medic, like nurse, doctor?
that's what he did. He was a medic, but he still told me to not join because he just saw so many terrible things. He didn't want that for me. And he also he doesn't have any problem with Vietnam. He told me, and I think he was really wise. He was like, it's not the people or even the other soldiers. He said it's the political leaders that he blames, and I agree with that. It is the political leaders that really have the responsibility. But on that note, yeah, start with if okay.
No, let me. Yeah, sorry. One more thing. One more about here where the country that we produce a lot of weapons
Yeah.
to support
I mean,
Ukraine.
this country is completely financed by the war industry, and we've
Yeah.
pretty much been at war nonstop. Like it's really awful. If you look at the grand scheme of the way that's structured and how it's a lot of things are built on the deaths of really innocent suffering people.
You come from the British, and the British have invaded almost every country on earth. It's like literally almost every country on earth has been invaded by Britain. It's easy to list the ones that haven't been. It's only like 6 countries out of all the countries on earth haven't been attacked by Britain. And that's where my ancestors are from. So it goes even further.
I mean, work culture is, I mean, we don't see it, we're, I think, to a certain degree sheltered here in the United States, but still, how in culture, teaching the kids to stand up. I mean, stand up to the flag I believe in being respectful, but indoctrinating kids into believing that, like, one of the highest purposes you can have is to go into the military, be a great soldier, which I'm sure it has its value, but that part of that is also making sure that money keeps into that war machine, which feeds the power, which keeps America, the United States.
Actually, it's in every nation, not only certain nations. They came from Vietnam, so yeah, they teach us that we need to respect the military people because they're the ones that protect us. This is every culture, every nation.
And my hope, my vision for the future is that we as humans can actually evolve enough into our prefrontal cortex and realize that is not a way a good way to treat this planet that we are. It's not even separate from us. So my hope is that more and more people wake up to this idea that system needs to drastically change if we want this biosphere.
Now the weapons now are so powerful, really ever since the atomic bomb, but the other technology too, with like drones and AI and stuff. We can't keep having so many wars or we're gonna kill everybody.
Oh yeah, they have weapons that they literally just can't use.
Like I believe that like a military. I aren't even respecting those people, like the people who protect us, but the leaders need to only focus on defending us, not starting things.
That's why in my class I asked a student, if you are Buddhist, can you buy defense stock? What do you think?
Like on the market, like
No, on stock, in stock market.
yeah.
Can you buy the stock
I
market?
know.
Yeah, I don't, I would feel so gross
What do
about
you
that.
think? Hmm.
A lot of people don't have a choice because of like the way that their 401ks are set up. and
Right.
stuff. You don't, they invest in whatever they want. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I have a 401k. It's small because I haven't been at this current job very long. But I don't put very much in my 401k. Most of my investments I pick myself. And yeah, I don't pick any weapons. And I don't even have any fossil fuels right now. I had some gas stocks for like a minute, but I decided I didn't want those karma either, so I sold those and got rid of them.
Yeah, especially the war going on now. So their stock is going up. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is what we got is
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist
We have a lot of.
500 tied to our work.
What's that?
The S&P 500 tied to our work. Big companies, Windows, Apple.
I mean, but just the whole system is fueled on,
So it becomes very slippery slope for you.
There's plenty, quite different type of stocks we can buy too, right? But of course, there's some commercial, some. I mean that some company they produce, they have. They sell the products for commercial and for the military too, so you can. Like Boeing too, right? Boeing they produce the commercial airplane and also the military airplane. So again,
or even your tax dollars. I mean, how many hours did you work to go blow up a kid in Syria?
yeah. Anyway, so but I'm talking about the office one, the pen stock that we know right away. So again,
What did they
it's a
decide in your
choice.
class? What did they say about it in your class?
Most times they don't care.
They didn't think about it.
Yeah. So, but of course, if we have that type of wisdom, we can have a choice. Yeah.
I mostly buy like minerals and energy, like just raw materials, because with raw materials, maybe they'll go to something good, maybe they'll go to something bad, but I'm only interested in like the iron and the other stuff, and where it goes, that's somebody else's karma.
Yeah, that's right. That's just, we have the wise choice. And I'm going to think. Anand?
That is a that's a very fascinating conversation, Thai. You know, as a lay person, we deep moral values of Buddhism. If we are truly practicing Buddhism, the teaching of Buddha is to get rid of all the greed, the wants, the needs, right? To shed that. But I don't think I'm at that level. And so we have to live in this life where we follow the norm, invest in things that can grow the most. And so therefore we want to be greedy. We want to be rich. We want to have the best return on investment. And therefore we pick the stock and so on and so forth. And most of that, if we go that route, and it's very commercial, capitalistic, and therefore economic driven, and it's all money driven. Even the Defense Department, that is where McDonnell Douglas, Pratt Whitney, all these engines, all these machines that they make prepare for defense stock, they are skyrocket every time we have a war. And guess what? We build a lot of machines and we build a lot of airplanes. Somebody have to buy it. So in Vietnam right now, just last week, they have a whole defense department, like the vendor in Vietnam selling arms in Vietnam. All the vendors go there. And even the US go there, Russia went there, China went there, but they're all enemies, but they go there to sell arms to anyone who want to buy. So it's very capitalistic and very driven from that perspective. So yes, I mean, if you can look at it from that perspective of greed, and that's all root in the greed, wants, desire, as a fundamental level. Now that's cascade down to our own individual wants and needs, and therefore we want 401k. Why? Because I want to be retired nicely. That's also not agreed. So I think it's difficult, and that's an interesting conversation. But I'm a deep down in Buddhism, because of the root needs and wants and greed and desire and so on and so forth, that cultivate all these things that we create problems. So it's a bigger conversation. It's more than a conversation. It's actually what we actually do in the grassroots level. If you practice Buddhism, you get slowly choosing stock, like someone was talking about, choosing stock that are potentially grow something in a healthy way, the environment, respect for environment, things like that. That may be the path, more like activist type of investment versus capitalism for the sake of capitalism is completely dependent on the needs and wants. And so right now, even in the investment right now, there are segment of a population or segment of the investor and advisor where they gear toward what we call moral values and things like that for investment. So I think it's a very interesting conversation. I don't have an answer for it, but I'm just kind of reflecting on it as you guys are talking about it. For myself, even, I'm at an age where I'm getting, in a few more years, I'll be retired. I want my 401k to go up, right? Because I don't have any money. I'm not having money, but I mean, not enough the way that I think be living because inflation going up, so on and so forth. So it's always something in our mind. But if you actually truly practice Buddhism, you really need all that money, things like that. When I came to the US, I have nothing. I still live okay. Now I work for 30 some years. I'm still okay, but I still want something. So I think it's very human nature to wants and needs all the time. So as Buddhism, it's helped me to anchor me to kind of, hey, there will never be enough. So just accept what you have, appreciate what you have, and so on. So I'm kind of rambling on this, but I think it's a difficult conversation, but it's an interesting question that Thai asked, to invest in the defense stock or not.
Hi Daniel, how you been?
Dạ chào, thầy có nghe con không?
Nghe con. Yeah, how you been?
Good, you?
Good. How old are you, Daniel?
14 tuổi rồi.
14 tuổi à? 14. Oh, okay.
Yes,
if you're 14, we have the class after this. This is more for college, for the older people. But you're welcome to stay back. But 8:30, we have the class with your age if you want to. Okay, right? 8:30. Okay. Yeah, but you can stay here. Okay, just stay around with us. Okay. I thought that you will get older. That's okay. It's okay. So again, here, how in Buddhist view, when we talk about the moral conduct or whichever, we base on the law of karma. So if people think, oh, okay, because I'm Buddhist, I cannot do this and that, but that's not the case. So if we live according to morality, if we live according to the karma, we would not create much karma. But otherwise, we create disaster for ourselves if we get involved too much in those kind of things. So that's our choice. No one forces us. No one condemns us except ourselves. That's our choice. Right? All the traditions are quite different, right? But for us, that's our choice. If we have the better choice, we want to have some, let's say, some stuff that staying away from those type of karma, creating that type of karma. Always, one way or another, we have to pay. So that's our choice. Yeah.
This is an interesting conversation, Thai. For example, even though it's an indirect karma, just like if we're not eating meat, okay, let's say we don't eat meat or hot dog, for example. Well, we don't kill the animal, but then the people who processing it, but our demand require them to do more killing of fish. killing more cow or pig or whatever. So is that indirectly impact our own karma, right?
Yeah.
Even though we say so, even we have a choice, but then maybe we're ignorant, we don't know that that's how it impact our karma. But by choosing to eat meat, it can indirectly encouraging other people to continue supply products that are harmful to the animals, as an example.
Yeah.
So to truly practice Buddhism at that level of trying to free ourselves from cyclical nature, we have to slowly moving away from that. Correct? I mean, we have to not that we choose. We know that we choose, but we choose less of it. But we know that we cannot get out of that cycle unless we terminate or get rid of that desire to do those kind of things.
Now again,
just a reflection on that.
Thank you. That's a wise choice. Yeah, whether we have the right choice or unwise choice is up to us. So, okay. So how about that you say that your dad was medic, right? How about being chaplain?
Being a chaplain.
What do you think? Is this good in military to help people to help the soldiers to calm their mind?
I think being a medic is probably better than being a regular soldier. Being a chaplain is maybe better than being a medic.
Why?
Medics still have to learn how to use a gun, and medics still have to carry a gun. But chaplains aren't allowed to
they don't
carry
involve with gun.
Yeah, no gun for the chaplains at all.
So if you have no choice, you can pick up that chaplaincy job.
During the Vietnam War, my dad's birthday was going to get called up. He was going to get drafted. So he volunteered. He got to go to Germany and translate Russian. So he chose to join and he got to do linguistics. And then later on, he stayed in the military as a chaplain.
Yeah.
But not during any wartime.
Do you enjoy being chaplain over there?
He wasn't a chaplain in Vietnam. He didn't have to go to Vietnam during the war. They sent him to Germany instead to translate Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Of course, sometimes you can see the image, a picture, or even video clips about the chaplain who placed the bomb before they drop. Right. Yeah, it is this condition to to know idea which anyway. So do you think it's better choice because they don't carry a gun?
Probably, although maybe not if they're blessing the bombs.
Yeah.
But let's say if they encourage the soldier to calm their mind, right?
Yeah.
But they be better in the battlefield.
Maybe, but I also think an important job that chaplains have is, for the dead and the dying. It's good to have a chaplain of their religion there to help them go to the next life correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it's pretty tricky. So it depends upon how you view, how you involve, right?
Yeah, but like you mentioned with your example about collecting the bombs, of course, in history there are many examples of religious leaders condoning a war, and that encourages it to happen. Mm-hmm. So it can be tricky. Even it's not as common from my studies of history. It seems more common for other religions that have that problem than Buddhism. But even in Buddhism, it happens. I know in Japan, the emperor pressured various Buddhist monastics to support the war, and they did.
It's pretty gruesome in Myanmar right now.
In Japan, that's two exceptional cases.
So not normal for Buddhism, but we don't do it today. It's still
unfortunately it's problem.
Yeah, that's one of my student questions yesterday before I flew back. I had the final with them in Asian religion, so he asked me that question, and they say that most Buddhists abide with that precept. The first precept is no killing. But of course, when you step out the line, that's their choice. But from Buddha down to his disciple and up to now, most people encourage. Most Buddhists encourage us to be non-violent, to stay away from killing common. So, but it's, of course, in life, it's some kind of exceptional cases. It's just not perfect, 100% perfect. So it's pretty tough, especially during the war. You have no choice. But unfortunately, we still have a choice here, especially let's say for people in Ukraine, they have no choice. Right? They have to be corrupt. They have to serve in the military to protect the country in one way or another. Whether they're front line, the back. Yeah, please.
If, okay, a man had eaten poison but was not aware of it, would he still die? Yes, Venerable Sir. Just so, okay, even though a man was not aware of his offense, he would not be able to comprehend the truth. Clearly, Nagasena, this must be the word of the conqueror, and to look for any fault in it is vain. It must be as you say, and I accept it thus. You want me to keep going?
That get summarized. So let's say.
Well, I suppose following off the part that Kelly read, you was asking about if it's better to have remorse or not to have remorse. And, we established that sometimes being too remorseful can cause you to live in the past and not move forward. But it's also like in this part they mention how if you have bad karma, it's like if you have taken poison, even if you don't know about it, even if you're not thinking about it, it'll still affect you because it's still there, whether or not you think about it.
But while we were driving, we hit the deer and animal. Is that great karma?
Maybe a little. Not as much as if you go out of your way to kill it, but a little, I would say. I hate hitting animals. Fortunately, I've never hit a deer. That's very dangerous. And I haven't hit an animal in a long time. Sometimes squirrels. Sometimes I think they're trying to get hit. I was driving the other day, and one ran out in front of me, and I tried to stop and swerve around it, and it kept like running towards my car. Even then, like it was like, "Hit me, please!" And I was like, "No, I won't help you commit suicide." But I still remember a long time ago, like 2006. It really bothered me. I ran over a raccoon once, and it was so fast that I think maybe it was pregnant, which would make it even sadder. But usually I don't hit anything. It's not ideal.
So I've always, not to sound extra crazy, but I've always had like I'm just very sensitive to things. Like when I was a little kid, I could predict fire drills at school. Like I just would always be like, "Oh, we're gonna have a fire drill today. What are you talking about?" And then sure enough, we'd have a fire drill. But so when I was in high school, we lived way out on 42, and of course at that time that was the middle of nowhere out the ocean. And my little boyfriend and we were driving his friend home, Middletown, from my house, and my boyfriend, I guess the defroster wasn't working all so well, and there weren't any seat belts, and this was in the early 90s, so the car was probably from the 80s. So there weren't even any seat belts in the back seat, and I was like, "Oh, this is not safe. I better lay down in case we get in a car crash. I'll just roll forward." Like literally, that's what went through my head. So I lay down in the back seat, and sure enough, like 2 minutes later, I hear this, and a deer had like just jumped, just landed. I mean, it totaled the car. All kinds of stuff came in. It was. But how weird was that? That like I knew, like just before that, or I would have flown right through like the window. You know that it was a pretty serious impact, and without a seatbelt back there, I would have. You know.
I think that's something supernatural, that you were protected or you had some special stuff.
Yeah.
Because in the past you put very well, so you have that type of skill. This has happened to some people if they put it well. So you hit any animals before?
Not that I remember. I think I've been pretty lucky, which especially where we live, extremely lucky. There's always animals everywhere.
The squirrel.
Once I almost hit a deer. Her story made me remember it. Once I almost hit a deer. It was a foggy night on a curvy, hilly road out in the country, and deer actually jumped over the hood of my car. And it was I don't know if anyone knows what Leo Metro is, but the hood is it's a very small car, so the hood is only like this big. So I was probably only this far from hitting it. It jumped right over the hood.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also 2006, I think, 5 or 4.
Yeah, I remember when I was driving from Holden to Evanville at night. We're on the 64, so somehow the deer sat in the middle. And I could swim over on the speed.
Yeah.
Do you know what they call the thing on the front of a train?
Cow gut, or
Yeah, a
cow pusher. Yeah.
My ex-husband was an engineer, and that's a pretty gruesome job too. You don't really think about it when you see a train passing you, whatever, how intensive a job that actually is.
Again, so if we accidentally hit them, the lesser trauma, we still have some type of trauma, but because we didn't have intention. There's nothing we can do. It's our own control. It's different from intention. Yeah,
what is the difference between a layman who has done wrong and a monk who has done? There are 10 qualities that distinguish a monk of poor moral habit from a layman of poor moral habit. He is full of reverence for the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. He recites the scriptures and asks about the meaning. He has heard much. He enters the assembly with dignity because he fears reproach. He guards himself in body and spirit. He sets his mind on exertion. He is in company with the monk, and if he does any wrong, he is discreet. Furthermore, in 10 ways, he purifies gifts of faith by wearing the robe of the Buddha, by his shaven head, he bears the mark of faith. By being in company with other monks, by his having taken refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, by his dwelling in a lonely place suitable for exertion, by his quest for the wealth of the Dhamma, by preaching the excellent Dhamma, because he takes the Dhamma as his guiding light, because he regards the Buddha as supreme, and by his observance of the Upanishad. For all these reasons, he is worthy of offering, even though he has fallen from his birth. Just as hot water distinguishes the this was that guy that Ahagata in the
Machi,
whoever is virtuous and gives to the unvirtuous, it gives rightfully required. The mind is well pleased, firmly believing in the rich fruit of calm. This is the offering purified by the
Do you understand this? Understand this one? So somehow he says, so the monk has more privilege, right? Is the right way to think. Now he remember like last week, right? He taught the Buddhist principle based on the conservative view, based on the therapeutic views. So he always encouraged people, the Buddhist monk to know. That's the best way, in his view, that's the best way for people to get out of the cycle, to get the good distribution, good merit and so forth. That's just his view. So it's not speak the whole Buddhist view. So he say bad monk can get more good karma than the poor moral layman, in his view there. Well, of course, whether it's in the past or now, everyone is equal under in the law, right? In the course of the law, right? The rule of the law. So, but when we talk about here, this is about more spiritual path.
Well, I was thinking it seems like the argument that Nagasena is making is that since the monk does more meritorious deeds, that balances out his bad deeds a bit.
That's why if you visit the other country, like Thailand, Burma, so for most of the lay people, they prefer to support the temple than to do the practice meditation. That's that they've been living that tradition for thousands of years, so they get used to that. So of course, here we're going to talk in a fair way, right? So no matter who we are, whenever we do something wrong, we have to pay for that. We have to follow the rule of law. So in Vietnamese Buddhist communities, we used to say that your sash, the monk sash, could not speak how virtuous you are with your action. And like the Buddha say to a Brahmin, right? The Brahmin, he proud to himself that, okay, I'm a Brahmin, I came from a good family, I came from the mouth of Brahma, that's the greater God. So would I say no, only your virtue, only your conduct speak well, whether you are virtuous or not, based on how you conduct yourself, not how you you came from the families, and not based upon your race, based upon your gender and so forth. So that's just speak more to the teaching. So again, so after this week, I think we can find different books to study, especially in Thailand. Okay, so let's us stop here today then. Again, the 25th we have the celebration. She will play. She will waiting for that. And we have 1 week of meditation. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So Daniel, if you can stay back, we have the class 8:30. Okay. All right. So Daniel, you